Welcome, everybody. This is somewhat of a historic meeting. It's our first in-person mixed meeting for almost 2 years. And that is perhaps why some of the problems we're having with the sound system. But let's hope it's going to work through now. It's also historic because it's 2021 when there's two major conferences, COP26 and the UN Food System Summit. It's a single time in history where we can hopefully get something happening at a global level. Why is it important? We've come to the conclusion that we have to transform the food system. Why? There's only 9 seasons left before 2030. So if we're really serious about the SDGs, we have to get on with it immediately. Climate change is already with us. So, if you go and speak to any farmers in any country almost, they'll tell you how the weather is changing and that they're suffering, and especially in the low-income countries in the tropical regions. But it's nothing like it's going to be in a decade's time. And that's why it's so important that youth get involved. I'm going to retire within the next 2 years. And in a decade's time, individuals that I see sitting in front of me or online are going to be the leaders and having to make the change. And we have to see much more rapid change. I'm totally disappointed by the current state of affairs. So let's move on to the first individual that we'll introduce. So Carissa's coming to us from Hong Kong. She's a youth ambassador for Rubber Bank, and I think she may be our youngest speaker today. She's 16 years old. So over to you, Carissa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carice, and I'm a 16-year-old who is from Singapore and currently living in Hong Kong. I have always had an interest in food since a young age, from baking to eating, and food has always played a huge role in my life, be it culture-wise or just seeking comfort to make me feel a little bit happier on those Mondays. So food is always there for me, but with it, it comes wastage, and food wastage is one of the main reasons for the looming issue of climate change. Roughly 1/3 of all food produced today, or approximately 1.3 billion tons, ends up in the waste basket. And these vegetables, meat, dairy, seafood, fruits, grains either never leave farms or get lost or spoiled during distribution or thrown away in our own homes. In addition, wasted food means wasted energy, wasted water, all of which are used to produce the foods that end up in landfills, which rot and produce greenhouse gases. Furthermore, our food system results in biodiversity loss with the harmful agriculture habits, carbon emissions related to transportation and storage of fresh produce, and this inadvertently affects our overall dietary choices. The carbon emissions from the production of food itself is so high, let alone the ones from wastage, which hence results in the carbon footprint of the food systems. And the contribution to climate change constantly increasing. Having to find a solution to resolve all these issues is going to be difficult. So climate change impacts everyone, no matter age, gender, nationality. But for our generations, the ramifications would be even harsher because we are the ones who would have to face the consequences of actions made by each and every one today. And we as youths urge everyone to make a change in their food system. We youth are the next generation, making us a crucial part of the future of the food systems, and we hence need to be heard. We will be the ones fighting against climate change in the near future, like what Mr. Campbell said. And to do so, our generation has so many amazing ideas to leave a mark and make a change. Youths are the future, and we are the ones who would be around for a longer time. And we feel the responsibility to act now, to act early, to act for a better tomorrow. We are the ones who act as catalysts for change, to mobilize and influence global movements to battle climate change. We are passionate for change, and even though some people might not take us seriously due to our age, attending events like this to take a simple pledge, it allows us to raise our voices, to show our concern for the environment, For example, Act for Food has a pledge for youths in which you can show your dedication in the food systems, pledge to act, and ask for changes from large-scale companies and governments. So be sure to sign this pledge because it's through initiatives like this in which we can make an impact. However, sometimes our voices may not be heard, and despite our desperation and hopes for a better future, our ability falls short. This is where actors like Rabobank comes in. We need someone who will be able to put our dreams into actions, and companies such as Rabobank do. I had participated in a Food for Future hackathon set up by Rabobank, in which a group of youths who all want to make a difference in the food systems come together and form teams to brainstorm ideas, which would then be pitched to a jury at the end of the event. The voices of our generation had made it clear in these hackathons that we as youths are desperate for change, and the chosen team would then be invited to further work on ideas and would be given different opportunities to share it. For example, I participated in the online event, the One-Third International Food Systems Dialogue, to further share the importance of making a change in food systems. It had been one of my most memorable times, and after this event, I had observed some changes in my day-to-day life, from like cutting my meat intake to reducing the food thrown out. These hackathons serve as a platform for young people to congregate and share our thoughts so as to make a change. But we need everyone to act now, especially youths, to make an impact on our food systems. And for now, a video from the hackathons by Rabobank would be shown.
My name is Sam, I'm from the Netherlands.
Hey everyone, my name is Zana, I'm 19 and I'm from Latvia.
I'm Juliana, I'm from Brazil.
To reduce the impacts of climate change, a sustainable food system is key, and we should hence take action now.
The young generation are going to live on this planet much longer than the adults, so it's important to make sure that the voice of youth is heard.
How can we take the problems and issues we have right now and actually do something about it?
I think we should reduce our meat intake.
So eat more local, more plant-based, more fresh.
Food losses are reduced with, thinking about refrigeration and getting that on the ground in developing countries. And then food trade will be unlocked.
So if we talk about restaurants, industry and so on, reducing food waste as such. It would be useful to establish more zero waste shops where food would be sold without packaging.
So we were thinking of a crop rotation management applications, like it improves soil health and like optimizes nutrients in the soil.
Some hopes that I have for the future would be that people would start to realize the impacts of their food choices on the environment and be willing to actively make a change, be it supporting local farmers or switching to a plant-based diet.
To reduce the consumption of food too rich in fats, meat, sugar, salt, which has an effect on our health and environment.
Taking action now means that there will be a much less adverse impact on our environment, and being the ones who would be living on this earth for the next few decades, the change to a sustainable food system today would provide a better environment for our generation and the others that will follow.
I hope our generation will also have a say in how to solve these problems, because we're gonna live longer on this planet than the world leaders today.
Great, thanks a lot, Carissa. We often focus on, when transforming a food system, we often talk about the farmers a lot, so it's great that the whole angle on food loss and waste and diet change was brought in by you. So the next speaker is Mirjam Truss. She's coming to us from the Netherlands. She's the coordinator, Student Challenges at Wageningen University and Research, and she's also been the King Innovation Track Coordinator. So go ahead, Mirjam.
Thank you, Bruce, for your kind introduction. As said, my name is Mirjam Troost and I work for Wageningen University and Research at the Student Challenge team. It has been our great honor and pleasure to organize the King Innovation Track in the lead up to this event, in which we selected 5 fantastic student teams from Kenya, Peru, Nepal, and New Zealand. We organized the competition together with CCAFS and Youth Networks, IAAS and CSAYN. Well, it all started in July when the 5 selected teams received a starting capital of €2,500 and mentorship from the Dutch tech company King. We believe that a small push in cash and network from the older generation can help youth tremendously. Well, that's where the work started. It's been a great journey for all of the teams and mentors, and they are all winners. However, we had to pick one team that would get the opportunity to showcase their project at this event. And that is Team The Melt from New Zealand. Team member Natalie Alborn will introduce herself and the work of the team, but before that we will watch their video on their project about the introduction and development of low-dairy mozzarella in New Zealand. Please, start the video.
In Aotearoa, New Zealand, dairy is a major industry and is a key part of many people's diets. While dairy foods can be healthy, they do impact the land, water and air, and 1/4 of all emissions in New Zealand come from dairy. People value environmental sustainability and health when choosing what to eat, so there's demand for new foods that have a smaller footprint. If we can create dairy foods that are more sustainable but are still nutritious and delicious, we can help Aotearoa meet COP targets to avoid drastic climate change. The Melt, based at Reddit Institute, wants to create a mozzarella cheese using dairy protein but with oils from plants. Our goal was to create a method for making a low dairy mozzarella that can still melt well. Using relatively less dairy for our cheese compared to normal mozzarella could make it more sustainable. We used it in combination with oil from plants, which minimizes the amount of dairy needed while keeping protein content high. This also lowers the amount of saturated fat, making it healthier. We supplemented the cheese with phytosterols, beneficial chemicals from plants. Our hypothesis was that the phytosterols could change the texture of the cheese without impacting the taste.
So what we're doing right now is pre-mixing. Pre-mixing of the protein, our other ingredients, and with water as well.
After mixing the ingredients, we added them to a high-temperature cooker. Our first prototype was crumbly, which wasn't quite what we were after. We wanted it to stretch, which means it would melt well, like mozzarella. However, the oils didn't leach out, which meant we accomplished one goal of adding plant oil and phytosterols to casein to make a cheese. We wanted the next prototype to be as stretchy as possible, so we changed the recipe slightly and used high pressure, heat, and shear forces. We hoped this would force casein to form a continuous network to provide the stretchy cheese we wanted. There are many challenges in making a low dairy cheese, but texture is probably the biggest for mozzarella, which needs to melt evenly. The texture of our second cheese still wasn't perfect, but we did accomplish our original goal of combining milk protein with plant oils and phytosterols. We proved the concept. Our next major goal would be to ensure that the cheese melts very well by changing the recipe slightly. A major long-term goal would be to change the type of protein we use. We could use either protein from plants or from bacteria to make an even more sustainable product. Making it easy to eat healthy and sustainable food is a great way to address climate change. Let's eat for the future.
So hi everyone. We, The Melt, are a team of motivated young food engineers, and we see food as our way to make a difference. The future needs sustainably produced food that is also delicious and nutritious, as these factors drive consumer appeal, which in turn drives uptake of an alternative like our cheese. And in the case of our cheese, this required some development, so we entered into the King Innovation Track competition, which gave us some support, guidance and funding and turned our idea into a reality. The mentorship we received from King was invaluable, and as a result of the final, we have interest from groups here in New Zealand to help us take our idea beyond the lab. We want to encourage you all to take a chance like we did. Rally your group of motivated friends, get excited and put your idea out there. Tomorrow's world is our world, and as youth, we have such a golden opportunity to impact the future. As the saying goes, if you snooze, you lose, and the stakes are high, so as Carice said, let's act now and make a difference. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we're going to now move on to the keynote presentation, and it's coming from Victoria de Bowan de Palma. She's going to be talking about driving global youth action for climate adaptation in food systems. So Victoria is the lead food and agriculture transformation at the World Benchmarking Alliance. Go ahead, Victoria.
Yes, there we go. Thank you very much, Bruce. I think you can hear me now. Sorry for the logistical troubles. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to be with all of you virtually in Milan. I've heard some great news already today and yesterday of the many messages that are coming out. And it's a real honor to be with you here because, let's face it, youth are really the drivers of this climate movement. You've put it on the map. You've put it at the priority that it deserves. It's an urgent crisis, and we all can do our part. I just want to share some pieces of work that we at the World Benchmarking Alliance are contributing, and that you can use, that you can just use for your argumentation, dive into the data and help you better make your case. So at the World Benchmarking Alliance, we're assessing the private sector, we're assessing businesses to the SDGs. And so we are looking at over 2,000 companies. I encourage you to just visit our website, look at our decarbonization and energy team, look at our urban team, look at our digital inclusion work. And today I am just telling you about the food and agriculture bit that has actually just been released a few days ago. So exciting, unfortunately, a bit negative and depressing data, but data that we should take in our hands and really move forward for action. So the Food and Agriculture Benchmark 2021 has been released, and it shows that in the top 10, you find big names, interesting names, companies that have had incidents in the past that are not completely clean at the moment, but they are working towards progress. What does that tell us? It tells us that if we hold them to account, it really matters. Companies step up, companies listen to your voices, listen to the voices of investors, listen to the voices of NGOs. They're listening to what we are putting out there. So please use the data that is there and speak up to the companies you know, send them a message, whichever way you can, but really make sure that they are held accountable, that they take their own responsibility. Because we see in the data that there's a few companies that are already really holistically trying to take action. They have holistic sustainability strategies, are really putting good targets out there for 2030 and beyond. But the vast majority is lagging behind, especially if you look at environment. We looked at 350 companies from farm to fork, and from the 350 companies, only 26 have a net zero target aligned with the Paris Agreement. That's shocking. That's so little. That's less than 1%. Please, 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 we need this number to go up. That we have the science-based targets. We know what needs to be done. We have the data to show that companies are not doing enough. So I encourage you to visit our website, but visit websites of other organizations as well, sharing data, sharing information freely online. From the World Benchmarking Alliance, we also have data on the seafood industry, on the seeds industry. So really, I want to just empower you and make sure that we're all in this together. And us as a sort of not less youth people want to really empower you with the work that we do and want to make sure that your voices are heard, but that your voices are also backed by science, by data, to make an even bigger case. So data is out there, go out and get it, and accountability matters. Thank you so much for your hard work. Let's get this done.
Great, thanks so much, Victoria. So if you think about who's going to drive the change, we say that we need millions more coming into the food system. The private sector is going to be absolutely crucial. So this work of the World Benchmarking Alliance is really a good piece where we can watch companies and watch how they're bringing money into the food system and making sure that they're on track in terms of their SDGs. So it's a great message, Victoria. So there was a vlog competition as part of the lead up to this event. The aim was to involve youth from around the globe in helping transform food systems, showcasing actions large and small. And so we're now going to have some presenters of some of the top blogs. And the first person to present is Susan Guzman. She's the manager, Climate Finance Program at the Climate Policy Initiative. And I see that she's online. I think she's coming to us from London, perhaps. Go ahead, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Bruce. It's a pleasure to be here. Really, thank you so much for the invitation. It's my great honor to share this space with all of you. I would like to say that younger generations are not only the future. I think younger generations are the present. And you have a major role to play in this transition towards more sustainable investments. And I'm going to mention 3 elements where your role will be critical. The first one, let's ask the hard questions. Where is the money? Where are your governments investing? Where are the financial institutions putting the money? It is time to increase transparency about the origin and the destination of the financial flows to ensure that that all the financial flows are consistent with a low carbon and resilient development as the Paris Agreement suggests. Second, get prepared and get involved in the decision-making processes. Let's remember that every single year, our governments discuss where are they going to allocate the budget that is a public budget. And we have to remember that the public budget is our budget, is the people budget. So we have to be sure that those investments that the governments are doing are considering the most important part of all, which is the preservation of life. Third, we need to raise awareness about all of these topics related to sustainable investments and sustainable development with all our friends, all our colleagues, or our members in our families. For many years, we left the financial institutions to do what they consider important, because we were not ready to question them, because we thought that the financial sector was something that was only important for the bankers. But today we have to follow what that international financial institutions are doing, such as the multilateral development banks, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and we have to also follow what is happening with the financial institutions in our countries. We have to ensure that all the investments that they are doing are good investments, are not harmful investments, because at the end of the day, they are investing in those activities that will determine the future of all our generations and younger generations. The climate crisis is costing us a lot of money, and we have to increase sustainable investments. But more importantly, we have to cut those investments that are creating the problem. So no more money to coal, no more money to gas, no more money to oil. Today, more than ever, it's time to invest in food security, because this is gonna be crucial for the coming months, for the coming years. We have to ensure that we are investing in energy transition. We have to ensure that we are investing in best health services. And of course, one of the key elements, we have to invest more in adaptation. Around the world, the investments on mitigations are still 80%, represent 80% of the financial flows around the world. and only 20-25% to adaptation activities. So this is going to be crucial. We have to increase the investments in adaptation and in those sectors that are very relevant, such as the food sector, all the agricultural sector, of course, water sector, and all these that are extremely relevant for the future of our generations. So finally, I think it is very, very important to organize these conferences with all these very powerful youth representatives. But it could be even better to ensure that all younger generations have a seat in the decision-making tables, because I'm sure that all your fresh ideas, all the innovative way that you're thinking that you have is going to be extremely useful for decision makers to see that innovation, to see that new pathways to transform what we are observing at the moment. I truly believe that this is our time, and we have the possibility to change the pathway. Because if we do not change today, the climate will change everything tomorrow. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I wish you all the very best in the conference, and let's keep fighting together, because it's definitely our time. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Silvia Guzman. I'm from Mexico, and it's my big pleasure to be here with you. Today, more than ever, we have to come together to tackle climate change in a collaborative way. Science has confirmed that climate change is not only real, but is having impacts all around the world. Climate change has been produced by human activities because consumption and production of fossil fuels are still growing all around the world. For this reason, we have to transform the way that we are doing things, putting in the center of everything what is most important, life. For this reason, I would like to call you to join me and to demand to all the financing sector to transform the investments. We cannot keep investing in those activities that are creating the problem. In Latin America, for instance, the fossil fuel investments are 170 times bigger than the sustainable investments. For this reason, today, we have to demand a transformation of the financial sector to make financing and all the financial flows consistent with a low greenhouse gases development, and to increase resilience and to really allow adaptation to the negative impacts of climate change. Food security is going to be crucial for the survival of the population, not only in the coming years, but in the future as well. In this sense, this is a call to all of you to join and not only demand things or changes at the international level, but it's time that we also go back to our countries to demand a change in their policies and their investments, because now we need better policies, better budget allocation, and of course we need strengthening the institutions to do this. You, younger generations, have a lot of things to do, and I know it's not fair that you are putting all this in your shoulders, but trust me, there are a lot of people that is trying hard to contribute with a change. And you have in your hands the opportunity to transform and to change the trajectory. We will work together because today more than ever we know that climate change is something that is not going to be solved only by the governmental institutions. We need non-governmental institutions, we need the private sector, the private sector that is committed to tackle climate change, and of course we need academia, we need younger organizations, and we need all citizens to face climate change. We know that we are running out of time. We have 8 years to reduce 45% of the greenhouse gases emissions if we want to avoid an increase in the temperature of more of 1.5 degrees Celsius. This is a survival matter, but if we come together and we work together, we can do this. What can you do? Lots. you can decide who is in the power. Vote better, buy better, and commit to that single and probably small change that you can do at home. Because every single change can make a big transformation. Thank you for having this space with younger generations, because you are the ones that will solve the problem. Because you have fresh ideas, innovative ideas, and you have the commitment that sometimes politicians don't have. Keep fighting, don't get frustrated, and keep always your positive perspective and vision about the future for you and for your younger generations. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks a lot, Sandra. So a really important message around finance again. In our program 10 years ago, we started with no finance specialists. Now we have a team of 10. Really important area to go into, given the kinds of issues that Sandra has addressed. So the next speaker is Victor Mugo. He's Kenyan. He's coming to us from Kenya as well. He's the Vice President of the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Alliance. Victor, over to you.
Hello, my name is Victor Mugo from the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network. And in addition to climate change being a global issue, it is also a youth issue, especially because for countries such as mine, which are heavily reliant on agriculture, agriculture really provides the greatest opportunity for decent employment opportunities for young people such as me. And in addition to that, climate change effects to our agriculture food systems really will determine whether we can provide decent employment opportunities for young people today and even in the future. And that is why building the resilience of our farmers, of young farmers, is really important to us. As the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, we are helping young people to transition from the normal agriculture to climate smart agriculture, because we do believe that this is an opportunity for them to get decent employment. We also believe that this is an opportunity for them to get involved and engaged in the climate action discourse, but also we do believe that this is an opportunity for them to help our country become food secure and even food sovereign. And we do this in very many ways. I can just name of two. We work with students who are taking agricultural courses to change their perception about agriculture, but also to build their capacity on climate smart agriculture concepts so that they can be able to transition out of universities and out of their schools and out of their tertiary institutions to become young farmers, to become young agripreneurs who are leading profitable but also sustainable agricultural enterprises. As well, we usually also have the Climate Smart Agriculture Excellence Centers, which are practical demonstration farms of climate smart agriculture in practice. We do believe that agriculture is also quite practical, and so having these farms helps young people to come and learn from other young people about how they can be able to transition to climate smart agriculture. And so as young people, we really need to get involved in climate action and climate adaptation. This is because the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else is going to save it. And so we really need to get involved in climate adaptation so that we can be able to secure our livelihoods, we can be able to create decent employment opportunities, we can help our countries to become food secure, but as well we can help our planet to adapt to the changing climate. So how are you getting involved in climate adaptation? Let us know in the conference. Thank you so much.
Hi, Victor.
Thank you so much, Bruce. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. So, Victor, I'm from Zimbabwe, and when I speak to the youth in the rural areas, a lot of them are wanting to move to urban areas. Do you see a change in attitude with the kinds of people that you're working with?
Thank you so much, Bruce, for this opportunity. Really great to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are joining us. First, my apologies if there's background noise. There's electricity rationing in my area, especially because we haven't had rain for a long time. There's an ongoing drought that is continuing. And so because of this, then I have to work from a public space. And I think this also comes to us after a whole year when we had a locust crisis in East Africa. And so this just shows that climate change is not something that we read on the papers. It's not something that we hear on the television or see on the television. It's something that we experience on an everyday basis. And just to go to your question, Bruce, the COVID pandemic really has shown us the need and also the opportunity in the agricultural sector. Especially with climate smart agriculture, young people are getting opportunities even in rural areas and do not need to go to urban areas. I look at a county outside of Nairobi, which is the capital city of Kenya, which is called the bedroom of Nairobi. But now what we've seen is young people coming from the urban areas and going back to the rural areas so that they can be able to eke a living for themselves. The only challenge that I see is these young people who are going back to the rural areas and those who are staying in the rural areas do not have that technical know-how. They do not have that ecosystem of support to enable them to continue to grow crops and to also lead agricultural enterprises profitably and sustainably. And so I think that is the gap. But there's a huge opportunity in rural areas. There's a huge negative and reverse migration from urban centers to rural areas, and this is something that we can see, especially in the Kenyan context.
Great, thanks a lot, Victor. Let's go on to the next speaker. It's Nitya Chanina. She's from India. She's the Gender and Social Inclusion Science Officer for CCAFS. Over to you, Nitya.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nitya Chanina, and I work with CCAFS, which is the CGIAR Research Program for Climate Change, Agriculture, and Food Security, as the Gender and Social Inclusion Science Officer. We are a scientific institution that truly believes in research for development. I'm here today to share some initiatives that we have undertaken to include youth in food systems transformation in Asia. CCAFS, in collaboration with its regional teams and partners, has been scaling the climate smart agriculture, or the CSA approach, across the globe. Now, what is CSA? CSA is an approach that enables an increase in crop productivity, a reduction of emissions, and development of overall resilience of food systems. It is aimed through the implementation of a portfolio of technologies, practices, and services to transform and reorient agricultural systems to better support food securities under the new realities of climate change. In South Asia, CCAFS actively involved young people like you and I in scaling CSA across maize and wheat-based agricultural communities, especially in India. These youth are playing a key role as independent service providers and owners of custom hiring centers to provide CSA technologies such as Happy Seeder, multi-crop planter for direct seeded rice practice, and bed planting services, among others. The youth are also playing a key role in scaling CSA technologies such as Nutrient Expert and mobile-based climate information services, which require the use of computers and smartphones. Other technologies, including solar pumps and water meters, have also attracted youth participation due to their technology-based nature as compared to conventional technologies. On the other hand, high school students from over 100 schools in the Southeast Asian country of Philippines have been mobilized as information providers on cost-reducing and yield-enhancing CSA technologies for rice production. CCAFS, in collaboration with Phil Rice, initiated a campaign which included a portfolio of activities such as farmers' field days, capacity enhancement for teachers, introduction to information hubs on rice, and provision of CSA technology modules, quizzes, and a whole range of exercises. The idea was to inform and encourage the next generation to become active participants in building the resilience of their agricultural communities. So I would like to challenge you to get active and act for sustainable food systems in one way or another. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Great, Nitya.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Hi. Yeah. Are you coming to us from India?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, Nitya, here's a difficult question for you. You're interested in gender. So often farming systems in the places you come from are dominated by men, probably older men. How do you work in a system like that to bring in a youth dimension, to bring in women into the decision-making roles?
Right. That's a great question, Bruce. Thank you for that. And yes, I do understand that agriculture in countries like India are majorly dominated by men, but women too play an active role. And young women, in fact, are playing more and more active roles, especially in the given day and age of technology. And I think COVID also has a role to play in this. So there has been a lot of in migration during the times of COVID, and with more and more hands on board for each of the households, there have been an active participation of both men and women in the farming sector. The unfortunate part is that while men are recognized as farmers per se and are um, made the key players of the agricultural systems, women are unrecognized, and that is where the entire gender gap comes into play. Uh, Men and women, both young men and women, are in fact equal players in the system. uh, but things are changing. There are a lot of awareness generation campaigns. There are a lot of transformative approaches which are involving young men and women together, so that there are no differences in terms of the gaps in awareness that exist in terms of technology, or just having to know what role do men and women each play in agriculture. So I feel that this the transformational approach that is happening in agriculture, not just in India, it's also happening in other areas like Southeast Asia and Africa. I think these transformation approaches have a very key role to play for future generations, both in reducing the gender gap as well as any youth related issues. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think it's quite an interesting message around technology, digital technologies, and the role for the youth to become key players in the food system. You see that as well happening?
Yes, I definitely do. Like I said, and transformational changes do really require a change in the mindset. So I think there are a lot of campaign-based initiatives that are going on, not just in terms of initiating technology-related changes, but also to change the social norms that go behind adoption of these technologies and uh, related dimensions. So there's definitely change happening. Of course, it will not happen overnight, but there is progress.
Great, thanks a lot, Nitya. So we've had vlogs from the Americas, Africa, Asia, and now we're going to go to Europe. And we haven't, given this event is in Europe, we have an in-person with us, Thomas Westhoff from the Netherlands, National Director of International Association of Students in Agriculture and Related Sciences. So go ahead, Thomas, and welcome to the stage.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bruce. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone here in Milan, and good morning, good night around the globe. Yeah, today I will show a vlog, which is from a project of IAAS where we are really proud of. It's called the Village Concept Projects. And we focus around education, environment, and community building, as I will explain in the vlog. And after the vlog, I will reflect more on it. So I would say, yeah, start the vlog. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I am Thomas Westhoff, Vice President of IAAS, and I'm here in front of our headquarters in Leuven, Belgium. IAAS is the biggest association in the field of agriculture. We have more than 10,000 students in more than 50 countries working towards our bigger goal, sharing knowledge and create mutual understanding. We make podcasts, write call to actions and policy documents to articulate our view on crucial topics such as climate change, the future of agriculture, and One Health. But we also try to put this in action. We have a nice projects going on, and one of them is really special to us, the Village Concept Projects. Around the globe, students are working together with local communities to drive innovation and sustainable development. But besides working with communities, we also take an international approach. Our association creates and fosters connections across the globe. So students in France are working with students in Togo. Students in Indonesia are showing their projects to all places across the globe, fostering more innovation and fostering our idea of mutual understanding and sharing of knowledge. But we also take an interdisciplinary approach. We are an interdisciplinary association. We have students working in food processing technologies and students working in the environmental sciences, in crop sciences, social scientists. We cover the whole spectrum of sciences. And that makes our projects a success. An inspiring idea for youth across the globe, working together with local communities in a way where we incorporate several disciplines and work to a sustainable transition in an international way. So, these are some nice stories of things we are doing. And we are open to share them with the world. So I have also a nice booklet which has been created by IAAS, where we tell all these stories from more than 25 locations across the globe where these projects are currently undertaken. I hope this inspires you and works towards our greater goal of mutual understanding and a more fair and just food system which copes with the problems caused by climate change. Thank you so much. We hope to work with you together in the future. Yeah, in the video I'm referring to the booklet, and I want to highlight two of those stories. One from Guatemala, where students work together with a community to create techniques to make organic fertilizer. And one from Morocco and Belgium, where it was a collaborative action where they helped the community faced by pests for olive trees and how they could cope with that. So that shows how these projects can take shape in the real world. Village concept projects are supporting the Sustainable Development Goals. We are working with communities, but youth are also working on a personal development because they get a lead in those projects and learn working in real life situations and problems faced by their own communities. These projects are around for more than 3 decades now. We have worked with countless of organizations. So I'm inviting you all, if you are interested in joining one of those Village concept projects as an organization, feel free to reach out to us. And I'm now open for questions.
You can come and join me. So Thomas, this is perhaps an unfair question or a difficult one. So it's really important to do advocacy and policy outreach and those sort of things. So you're doing a lot of great projects on the ground. To what extent does your membership get involved in now trying to change the behavioral patterns of politicians and policymakers and those sorts of things? Are you into that area as well, or is it mostly based on the ground?
We are an apolitical organization as IAAS. So yeah, we are not involved in politics in that sense, but of course we are also influencing decision makers by showcasing that action from youth is possible with these projects. One of the projects I want to highlight, for example, is IAAS Nepal. They won 2,500 euros with the King Innovation Track and are now building warehouses to prevent spoilage of apples. And that gets also interest from politicians as well as business. So in that way, we are open for those collaboration. And we're also writing call to actions, but it's always hard to maneuver because we are an apolitical organization in the end.
And so this is really important work on the ground. How do you fund it, and how do you make it happen?
Yeah, that's always difficult, but it's a lot of our own money that goes in there, our own hard work. We also try to sell some stuff we produce with the communities, and yeah, also recently we found some nice funding possibilities with others. Which also can kickstart these ideas. Also, yeah, the example of Nepal, where King Group founded it, and you really see that it can really have an impact there and can really move these projects further. So yeah, we're really looking for that too, which is of course difficult. But
okay, perhaps my last question around the private sector. So as far as I see the private sector as a crucial piece of the problem and the solution, but one has to, I think one really needs to work with them. And does your membership also work with private sector, and is that perhaps a source of funding for some of your work?
Yeah, we are working with the private sector too. As an example, we are working with Bayer, where they are also interested in these projects. Yeah, they are not influencing the work we do. We find that really important. It's so, as we said, a youth-driven concept, but they are helping us to make the change on the ground and give us the support and believe in the things we showed. So that's great to see that happening. So I agree with you on that.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So we're going to have the last presentation. And that is going to come from the winner of the vlog competitions. And if I can find the piece of paper. So it's Cliff Olau from Kenya. He's a research scientist, an entomologist. He's an entrepreneur and a cricket farmer. And so he won the vlog competition, and we're now going to hear from Cliff. So go ahead, Cliff.
Hi, my name is Cliff Olau, the founder of ProDodo. Our company will be rearing crickets and will be making cricket-based food products. Our major product will be the cricket flour, which in the homesteads you can mix it with 4 flours, which is the ugali, chapati, uji, or the baking flour. And with that, the food that you eat, it will be comprised of both the carbohydrates and proteins. Thank you.
Hello,
Hi.
everyone. Hi.
You want to add
Hope
to
I'm
your
clear.
story, Cliff? Yeah,
Yes,
we can hear you.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Do you want to add to your story? How did you get into cricket farming?
Well, I was a student from the University of Nairobi, and I got to major in entomology. That's where I found my inspiration from one of my lecturers. He told me that the future of food security lies in insects. So that's where I found my interest and calling, and saw that this is good way of sorting the issues of food insecurity in the world.
Okay, and do you are you also working with the private sector in terms of trying to get the technology out, or do you see yourself as the entrepreneur doing that?
Well, actually, I am a sole proprietor, the entrepreneur of a company called Ekodudu Ranch. I managed to find some grant, an equity grant from an NGO known as Somo Africa. They managed to give me the startup fund, which I managed to build my cricket pens and start my production.
You're only doing crickets, but there's a wide variety of insects out there. Have you started thinking about other farming in line with insects, or you're going to stick with crickets?
For now, I'm going to stick with crickets, but later on, if the business seems worthy, I will jump into the BSF, which is the cricket larva. Sorry, it's not the cricket larva. Sorry for that. We're going to deal with the BSF. It's a fly. It's rather a fly, but we're going to eat the larva, maybe in the future.
Okay. And for the end products in all of the insect-related farming, where is it going to? To what kind of consumers?
Well, my early adopters will be the weight lifters and the parents to winning babies, and also the patients who are suffering from kwashiorkor, marasmus, oedema, organ failure, wastage and shrinkage, and the weak immune systems. Those are going to be my early adapters, as I try to educate people and sensitize and educate people to adopt entomophagy as an alternative source of protein for household and nationwide consumption.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So I'm going to close the session. I think we may have caught up some time. Ultimately, this is all about the crucial role that youth need to play in driving change. It just has to happen. We have to get student movements speaking up and talking and advocating. I think those kinds of changes are really important. I've said it before, but some of the climate advocacy that we've seen in the last 2 years has been more important than any of the science papers that we've written in terms of making people think about change. So I come from a research organization, and innovation is a key part of that. And it's training the next generation to do research, but it's also to do research really differently. So even within the research area, I see that innovation is necessary. We've been so reductionist in our approach to science. We've been so technical in our approach to science when a lot of the problems are social, political, institutional, market issues. We need to shift the way we're doing science and the focus of that science. And so the lead up to the COP campaign, one of the campaigns is around innovation. And so tomorrow there's a pre-COP hybrid event at 2:30 European time, all for climate shot. It's at the Villa Nenci Campiglio, and I hope you can join us at that. I just also want to say that this whole organization has been done by Doris, Stephanie, and Liana, and it's fantastic. So my key question is, have we caught up enough time to have Q&A? Yes? Okay, good. And Stephanie, you're online, so go ahead and ask the questions.
Thank you so much, Bruce. Alrighty, so first we'll be starting.
Your sound is coming through.
Okay, I hope everyone can hear me now. We'll be starting with some questions from the online audience, and then we'll be moving to in-person audience. So my first question is for Nitya. How do you help women in agriculture, for example, students, employees, and farmers, to give themselves a voice? Do you hear that, Nitya?
Hi, Nitya. Did you hear the question?
I did. I partially did. Yes. Yeah. Can you please repeat it?
So, Nitya,
Right. Nitya, can you hear me? Yeah, it's better now. Yeah. Alrighty. So, how do you help women in agriculture, whether they be students, employees, or farmers, give themselves a voice? Right. Thanks. So, I think a very strong platform to give women voice is collective action. We have worked with women groups in villages, and we have seen the change in confidence, in their ability to voice out their issues and to advocate for what they believe is correct. This example I'm giving from the villages where we have worked in India. We basically started an entrepreneurial initiative for women groups where they came together. They bought a few machinery, agricultural machinery, and they started a business of giving them out on rent, the custom hiring centers that I mentioned in the video. And as a result, as they started gaining more and more income, they were able to get that confidence to talk within the households with their husbands, to let them take a more active role in decisions related to agriculture, be it in terms of what crop to produce or what adaptation interventions to take place. So I think the role of collective action or a group based voice is something that is a very strong tool that helps women. I feel it also helps women in terms as students or as women in urban areas also to get that confidence and to really voice out their concerns and advocate for what they believe.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nitya. That was a great answer. So the second question that we have is to Thomas. So, how can young people become transformative leaders?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First of all, we are putting all our power also in training youth across the globe. We are there for mutual understanding, but also for mutual training. So inside IAAS, we also focus a lot on soft skills training, on getting a better person. Also, not only the hard skills you learn at university, but also the soft skills. So that's something we work on. And yeah, a lot is you will find out in the field. So that's why we encourage all our members to take on these projects as the Village Concept projects show. So yeah, go out there, go into the field, speak with communities, and we have a lot of brave members who are there out there and thinking of making a change.
Thank you so much. And now I want to ask if the audience has any questions.
So I'd like to ask a question to Victoria, if she's still there. I'm wondering if she thinks about how companies can engage youth in their decision making as well. Because we've discussed a lot about youth empowerment, youth engagement, but how do you concretely involve youth in, let's say, board meetings or high level meetings within the companies in the food and agriculture sector? Thank you.
Hi, Victoria. Are you still there? No. No? Okay. Another question?
Yeah, sure. Alrighty. So another question that we have to Victor is, what do you need from governments to support and facilitate the learning and transition to climate smart agriculture by young African farmers?
Thank you so much for that question. It is really crucial. What we've seen, especially from the Food Systems Summit perspective, is that governments are willing, but sometimes they are also limited in what. So the first thing that we need to do is to advocate for a transition towards more climate smart practices. And some countries have already started doing this and have created very great plans for food systems pathways to transition to climate smart agriculture and to sustainable practices. However, this is just the beginning. The commitments that are made during the Food System Summit is just the beginning. And so we need to continually advocate to ensure that these countries are held accountable to what they've committed, and that in the next few years we can come back to look at some of these commitments and see whether the governments are really taking place. Yeah, and the other thing that I think we could also do is to, more than advocacy, is ourselves as young people. We have so much power in ourselves. I have seen incredible game-changing solutions from young people. Young people are creating climate smart solutions. We have in Kenya climate smart excellence centers, young people who are going to universities and schools and tertiary places of education just to talk about climate change and the SDGs and climate smart agriculture. And so we really need to provide the structures of support to these young people. So there are very many organizations that are doing this. And we need to continually boost these organizations that are youth-led. And so that they can be able to do this even in a great and mighty way. So those are the two things that are coming to mind.
Great, amazing answer. Thank you so much, Victor. And moving on to Sandra, we wanted to know, how can we as youth start to take our action for sustainable investments to a higher level? Sandra, can you hear me? Alrighty. While we wait for Sandra to see if she can come back online, I would like to thank everyone for their wonderful answers. And this was a great Q&A session. Thank you so much for all coming in. And yeah, it's been a wonderful first session.
Great. So we're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back. 30 minutes. Okay, good. 30 minutes time, we'll come back again.